Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
So we did our first virtual conference this weekend.
Yep.
And I think it was overall a success. We learned
Great
some
success.
things.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Even though it looked a little Taliban-y, the video.
What are you talking
looked
about?
A little
I don't know.
Taliban-y.
I don't know what you're
Even
talking
my
about.
wife said that.
Your wife said that?
Yeah, especially when you were up there. Yeah. You
You
got the
got
hair and the
back.
beard, and you got the black background.
It was all grainy.
Yeah. It wasn't great. It was good, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
The thing that I'm excited about is that now we know how to do live stuff, and we can actually do some live stuff for fun.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that. That'll be a good thing to do once we get through all of this nuttiness.
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, how are you dealing with the nuttiness?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like because Illinois, like a few other states and places, is under what is it? What they call it? Like a
Shelter at home.
Shelter at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you're supposed to go to your house and stay there and not have social interactions.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're calling it in the UK safer at home. Because
Yeah, that's
they're
better.
now under, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely better. Though there, it's definitely, it's more stringent.
Yeah. Well, they were late to the party.
They were late, yeah. And their estimates like 2 weeks behind Italy on where Italy is currently. But yeah, I mean, like the police are going to issue fines.
But shelter is like the wrong word, right? Because shelter,
It's more like an active shooter.
Yeah, that's when you shelter.
Yeah.
Tornado.
Tornado, hurricane.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
Active shooter.
Yeah, active shooter. Shelter at home. So yeah, I think safer at home.
Yeah,
you know,
safer at
safer
home,
at home.
chill
I think
at
is better.
home.
Chill at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Netflix and chill at home.
Yeah, all that's good. It's just staycation. Like just consider it that.
I think it kind of gave people the wrong impression, you know?
So it's weird though, because we're out here and
It's
like
quiet.
It's real quiet. The streets are barren. It's a little
what?
creepy. It's a little creepy. It's like that. Sometimes people, I get the vibe, especially at night, like the Purge movies.
The what movies?
The Purge. It's like you going out there and you're like, I don't know. I feel like everything's gonna break loose. It's gonna.
I've never understood the movie.
You know the Purge movie.
No. I'm being for real. I've never watched it.
Purge movie. It's when like one night a year the government lets people go out there and kill and maim and do all the crimes they want with
And
repercussions.
everyone just agrees to it.
Yeah. You know this. Stop it.
But how do they know?
You know what they do.
Oh, is it?
Dummy. I knew you knew. You were ready for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole Purge vibe. It feels like everybody's been really nice actually. I don't see a lot of violence going on or looting, but it definitely feels weird when it's way more quiet and the streets are much more empty in the evenings because I just keep going out. I don't interact with anybody.
No.
Jen's like,
Joe disobeys.
I'm not disobeying. I'm allowed to go out and go for a walk. People
You
can go for a walk.
So you're just going for a quick walk.
I go for a ride.
You go for a ride.
Yeah, Jen will be like, hey, why don't you go get us some iced coffees? And I'll be like, cool. But then it'll take me 30 minutes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. What are you looking at your phone for? What's going on, Jimmy?
Something came through.
Okay.
I was just taking a look. Why
This is
can't I
our
take a
time.
look? All right, my bad.
So Jimmy and I don't really have anything specific to talk about other than we wanted to talk a little bit about this whole coronavirus pandemic and kind of how we're processing it and what churches are doing, what our church is doing, and maybe we can encourage some of you guys because this is having a broad impact. T4G is canceled. 12,000 people signed up, and all that money was spent on
Goodbye, T4G.
Yeah. So they're not able to actually give everybody a refund because they've spent all that money already on the products. On
Did
the
they
books.
say that? They can't?
They said they can't. Now, they said if you request a refund, we're going to do our best to give it to you. But if everybody requests it, it's going to be a very few number of people that actually do. But if you stay with us, we will send you all the books, 13 books, which is like $200 worth of books or something.
Yeah.
So I just give me the books, man. I'm happy. And they'll send you videos and stuff.
Yeah. And how much was the registration?
I think it was like $10,000 or something. I don't know what it was.
Well, no,
it's like $300. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
Listen, obviously we're gonna cut people slack. We gave everybody a refund who wanted one and didn't want to get in on this live stream of our stuff. So that's fine.
Which makes sense. I get it.
So yeah, they'll the SBC was just canceled. So the annual convention this year was supposed to be Orlando, June 9th and 10th, and it's been canceled.
Now, don't you feel like all right? I mean, it feels a little early to cancel that. Am I wrong? When was T4G? Like T4G was in April.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But June?
Yeah, I think there's so much planning has to go into it that I think they wind up spending money that they can.
So is that it? Okay, so potentially the issue is they're at the point where they got to put a deposit.
I don't know. I would imagine that's already been done for something that big.
Yeah, or maybe to get their deposit back.
I don't know. I really don't know.
It feels, I don't know. It feels a bit long out there, right? Like, so guys, we've got our conference in September. I mean, we're considering canceling it. So should I cancel it now?
We haven't even considered that. We'll be in the clear. And if we're not, we're going full purge. We're gonna have that conference. Yeah, we're so in God's providence. We moved the date to the fall this year.
Oh, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, it worked out well for us because normally we would be canceling this thing. Mm-hmm.
You're right.
So the registrations are open. People are getting in there. Feeling
So
pretty good.
for all of you that couldn't go to T4G, guess what?
Well,
Maybe we need to talk to T4G and say, hey guys, we're still on.
Yeah,
maybe there's some things we could do together.
You know, the one thing that we should all do together is just go to doctrineanddevotion.com and register for that conference. That's going down September 18th and 19th in St. Charles. The theme is covenant theology, and we're bringing in the heavy hitter, Dr. Sam, the man, Renahan. He's going to be our keynote. So we're going to talk about covenant theology, how it works, why it's important. What you're going to want to get in there, and it's in September, so we think we're going to be in the clear. So check it out, register, or at least bookmark it, and be ready to register once you know you've got those dates secure. I'm looking forward to it.
So Joe, it's a lot of chaos. You know, maybe chaos is not the right word, actually. I think there's just confusion.
It's a little chaotic for people.
It's chaotic for people, yes. But I don't want to give the impression of, the purge, as Joe seems. I've never watched them. And I know there was like a new one that came out. And I was like, maybe I want to watch it. Then I thought, but I have to, the way I'm wired, I can't just jump in on like number 3.
No. You always start with number 1.
I have to go. And I'm like, I can't commit to that.
Well, now you're all locked up in your house, man. You can do it.
No, that's dude. I'm scared walking through the church at night.
Yeah,
can you imagine what it is after
you do get a little spooked?
Can you imagine after I watched that?
You know what I watched that was really good? I watched the new Clint Eastwood movie, the one that he directed.
Forrest Gump.
No, stop it. The one
Toy Story 4.
The one with the guy at the Olympic bombing at Centennial Park in 1996.
I do know which one you're talking about.
Oh, I can't believe
I can't remember the name of it, but I do know what you're talking about. What film you're talking about?
So it's actually really good. It's worth watching. I would recommend it.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look it up right now because now it's just gonna. All right, what's it called?
I don't know. I said I don't know. I chose Toy Story 4.
Richard Jewell.
Richard
Jewell.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah, actually, it was really good. It's a history lesson, especially for a lot of our younger listeners who don't remember that.
And the rise of fake news.
Well, this is in a sense, right?
See?
Richard Jewell was
that's the genius of Eastwood.
He seems like he was a pretty good-hearted guy. Definitely not a bad guy. Working security, always wanted to be a cop. Loves law enforcement. And working security at the Olympics in ~96, and he discovers this bag, and it blows up. But because of his actions, a lot of lives were saved. And then the Phoebe, the FBI, and the media start saying that he is the most likely suspect, and they ruin his life. And it's all about his battle to clear his name. Very good movie. You should check that out.
All right.
So I think some of us are experiencing the chaos. What are some of the big obstacles right now? Obviously, a lot of people can't go to work. They have to work from home.
Yep. If you're able to work from home, work from home. Yep.
Some people have lost their jobs.
Unfortunately, yeah.
A lot of people have lost their jobs.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stress. But on the stranger side, families are spending a lot of time together.
Yeah,
which is
good
and
good bad.
Well, it's good and challenging, right?
Good and challenging. Yeah. Let's use that word, challenging.
Yeah, Jen told me today. She goes, "Boy, the kids are fighting, a lot today." And I was like, yeah. She's like, I told them if they keep it up, everybody's going to go to their rooms, which we haven't had to do in a long time. So I think, everybody being together is great. Is great. It's a challenge, but it gives us opportunities, I think, to do some things that maybe we haven't done before. Like, maybe people can start some family Bible studies, family worship if they haven't done that before.
Hey, you got time for that devotional?
It can be time to even just hang out and play some games. Like, I'm not a game guy.
No, you're not.
But Jen taught us a new game called WTF.
Okay.
And to play with the family. What the Fish, I think is what it's called.
I believe that's what it is,
and,
yes.
It was really fun. We all played that. Now they're learning a new game and where you have to slap the table really hard and it makes all kinds of racket. But yeah, it's actually a good time for some families to actually just chill together for once, right? If you're home, and anyways, even as stressful as it might be, there are opportunities here for us to find blessing in all of it.
Yeah, even the notion of family dinner is back, right? Where things are, made at home. And that's not to, I know there's a lot of restaurants and people that are struggling in that regard. And I sympathize with you. Yet there was something missing, for a lot of families in their routine. And that was spending time, cooking a meal, and enjoying that meal together. And so we have found that that's been, really good for us, has been, and Michelle typically does do a great job of, family meals,
ordering out.
And I'm usually the one that's like eating fast, getting out to go get some stuff done.
Right.
And now actually just sitting back and
now your company doesn't want you coming in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You have to, they want you to work from home.
Yes.
So you still have a lot to do, but you can do it remotely.
I could do it remotely. It's, for those that know, it's kind of like a key man situation here. So
got to protect
the
brain.
The lawyer made very clear.
Yeah, you are not coming in.
Who gets to stay? Who doesn't? So, and we do a lot of sanitizer products, not just laundry detergent and all that, but we do a lot of products for hospitals and restaurants.
Your company has to run, otherwise.
Yeah. So like when JB's thing came in, my lawyer's like, listen, if JB, that's the governor of Illinois. If JB wants to come personally arrest you, like, I got a friend at the Tribune that'll take a photo.
But they wouldn't even get there because they know you've got to do what you're going to do.
We can't shut down.
So I think there's opportunities for us all, like, you're going to have some time, right? So maybe you can have some fun and maybe watch a movie you haven't been able to watch, or you can certainly read some good books. I'm finally going to get to read Worthy. I've been wanting to read that. And I've got a little bit more time. I have time to read anyways, but I'm going to read, a few more books than normal. But our people are finding like, wow, hopefully people are going to see the importance of the local church, the importance of the gathering, the communion of the saints, small groups, because those are being limited now. So what are churches doing, and what are we doing? So let's talk maybe broadly, what are churches doing, and then we'll talk about what we're doing at Redeemer.
Yeah, man, I'm seeing churches online really have Virgil Walker, right? Virgil Walker, he's on the Just Thinking podcast. And I follow him online and love a lot of what he says. And he loves the Lord, really smart guy. But I'm watching him as he's leading these young adult ministries and discipleship ministries and family ministries. Like he's all over the place. He's a discipler, and he's got all these massive like Zoom meetings, trying to connect with people and encouraging them and going through God's word with them and praying for them. And so, we're seeing that all across, where pastors are looking for other ways of engaging with their congregation in a lot of ways. They're going about it in ways that they never thought they would ever actually want to do.
Yeah.
And some of them, I think, maybe even were completely against it, and now saying, well then, when
I have no choice now.
Yeah, it's nice to have ideals, but when there becomes a situation where it's a reality that you have to do this, then your ideals, you learn really fast. I can't hold to those. And
I think there's a difference, right, between, even somebody could say, hey, listen, I don't like this idea of maybe recording a sermon and sending it out, or whatever, having Bible studies through Zoom. But when you realize, like, well, there is no other way to do it right now, then you have to say, okay, well, we're going to do something, even though it's not ideal. And even though we're not going to stay this, hopefully we'll be able to get back to doing things as we normally do them. But so people are like pastors are now recording their sermons in one way or another and then uploading it. So that's common. Or like you said, they're using Zoom for elders meetings. We just did that last night.
We just did that ourselves.
Which I think we should always do.
Why? So you could smoke?
I can
you
just
could sit in your
smoke in my garage. It was great. Jen made me a little cocktail. She goes, "Here you go." I was like, "Oh, look at that, old fashioned, classic."
Man.
And yeah, it was just chilled. But no, it worked great for us. That sort of a thing. But I actually liked that Brian could share the document. We could see it at the same. I actually really liked that.
I like that a lot.
That was awesome.
Don't play footsie.
I'm sorry. We're sitting 6 feet apart from each other. I must have kicked something and it rolled over too. So they're doing that now. What are some things that we're doing, and then we'll talk about what we're not doing and why.
Sure. What we're doing personally or as a church?
As a church.
Okay. Because I think I do definitely want to touch on what people can be doing in their personal lives as well. So let's talk about the church real fast. So we are, like Joe said, we're continuing to like record the sermons, put those out there. Now, can I talk about what we're looking at midweek? Can I mention that? Or at least we can say we're discussing it.
We're discussing it. Let's talk a bit about the sermons for a second. Now, there are different ways to do it. Now, what we're not doing with the sermons is I'm not standing up on the stage and preaching to an empty room as if everybody was there.
No. We're also not taking the pulpit and microphones and speakers and putting them outside in the parking lot, and people can drive up with their cars and have a drive-through church. I've seen that online.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, but we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Instead, what we're doing is I will sit at a table and talk to the people who are watching the camera and do some teaching and preaching, quote unquote, in that way. But it's not wrong to stand up there in the pulpit and do it that way. I just feel a little weird doing it because the congregation isn't actually there. So there will be the same exhortation, the same outlines and all of that. From the table. Let me just say this, by the way. Sometimes there are some, usually Reformed guys that get super amped about this stuff, and they'll start. Yeah, I know, and they'll start to say things like, "It's not preaching. You're not preaching if nobody's there. If you're just preaching to an empty room and recording it." It's like, okay, again, then is it not teaching if nobody is there? In my mind, I think people get overly amped. Like, we were in a situation where we were providentially hindered from gathering. So somebody preaches or teaches to an empty room, but they're actually teaching and preaching to the people who will be watching that. Or maybe if it's live streaming, who will be watching that.
Yeah.
So I think everybody... You don't have to be contrarian all the time, guys.
We can give each other a bit more charity and grace in the situation as we're trying to navigate these uncharted waters for us.
This has never happened before like this. Not in our lifetime. Yeah, this is strange. We're trying to figure it out. And so, okay, yes, we can be very clear, and we will in this, and even in this episode, it's to say, like, well, this isn't technically a thing biblically. Some people are going to do it. We disagree, but what are you going to do? And so, is it technically preaching? I would say it's still technically preaching, unless you have a very narrow definition of it. But it's not the way we would typically do it, and it's not ideal. Of course, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So we're going to do our Sunday mornings, and with the Sunday mornings, we're going to start to include the liturgy that we would have. So that people know, here are the scripture readings that our worship leaders have picked, scripture readings as well as songs that we would normally be singing, right? We want to include that for people,
so that people at home can be going through that together as a family, reading them, praying through them, and then even listening to some of the worship songs that would have been picked.
Yeah. So you had mentioned we've been talking about something for midweek as well.
Yeah, I think it's important during this time that there's a number of people that maybe feel isolated, a number of individuals that are not going out. There might be individuals that are even, I don't want to use frightened, but maybe they are.
Sure.
Yeah,
some people are frightened. Yeah.
And it's understandable. There's a lot of uncertainty, and they're going through a lot right now. Like Joe said, and this has not been done before in the past, at least in our lifetime. So I think we're discussing doing something live midweek. We haven't picked a kind of the time or anything like that, but where individuals, a link will go out and members can jump on, and we can kind of Joe will lead like a devotional period, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then do a Q&A kind of time after, and maybe a little bit of a prayer.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I think it's kind of like a check-in, a weekly check-in. I don't know how many people are going to do it, but at least I do know the people that need it will most likely jump on. And those are the people that we're doing it for. If there's an individual that's feeling like, no, I'm pretty good,
fine. No need. Nobody's expecting you to.
No one's expecting you to. But for those that maybe are craving something like this, at least we're giving them an opportunity.
I think, since we can't gather together, this is at least a way to connect together, even though we're not gathering. And so we're going to probably use Zoom.
Yeah.
We've got the account for that. So
yeah. No, I got the account too. So you can just use mine.
Cool. And some of our small groups are using Zoom.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're doing Zoom, and actually our DG is doing Zoom as well. So we'll connect tomorrow night for discipleship group, and then we'll connect Thursday night. And we did, Zoom this last Thursday for the first time, and it was awkward. Sure. And I had to call out the awkwardness and say, listen, I know this is awkward. I know this is not ideal, but I want to encourage you to press in. And this is an opportunity for us to connect together in a way that otherwise we wouldn't be connecting at all.
Right.
And so as awkward as this is, don't give up on this. We're going to try this again next week for as long as it's needed so we can connect and pray for each other.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I just sent an email out to individual emails to our small group members, our community group, just checking in, see how they're doing, how we can be praying for them if they have any needs, and then also saying, listen, we can do Zoom. We can get together. Let me know who's in, and we can organize that. And I've started talking to our DG guys, our very small, we say DG, it's a discipleship group. It's just a few men or a few women about doing the same thing, because I know that's really a valuable thing. And we meet early in the morning, so we can actually.
Now you can do it maybe at 10 o'clock,
So whatever's easiest for them, right? We can make some adjustments. So I think that's good too. What else are we doing? Well, one of the things we talked about last night as elders is finding ways for the elders to be checking in with our people. And so we would encourage all churches to do this, but we're just going to start emailing and or texting and or calling, like whatever people tend to prefer. We're just going to start reaching out to people. Just say, hey, we're thinking about, like I started with my small group, and then we're just going to go out from there. And just to check in, to let people know, like, hey, we're available. Like, you can still meet with any pastor that you want. It may be through Zoom, but at least you can have that face-to-face in a sense. If you want to talk, because something we're really big on is anybody wants to meet with any of the pastors, all they got to do is say, hey, I'd like to, and we've set up an appointment, and it usually happens within that week. It's usually don't have to wait too long. So yeah, we still want to maintain that. And I think that's really important. Now, one of the things that we're not doing is we're not bringing the band together to play a worship set and then play that for people. Not that that's wrong.
Nope.
We're not doing it. We're trying to limit the interaction that people have.
Correct.
But we're also not doing virtual live services. Why aren't we doing a live preaching time? Since we're talking about it on Wednesday, why aren't we doing it on a Sunday?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, and one that people would ask. I think part of it is so that people can, because we have multiple services throughout the morning, and so there is a routine that our families have. Whether they're doing they like to come to service, then do a devotional, or they do devotional, then come to service, or so. I think we're trying to give that flexibility in the midst of this to not disrupt. They already have everything else is disrupted. We want to try to help them in their Sunday morning be so that they could find some semblance of a rhythm.
Right. Yeah. And I think by recording it in advance and just uploading it, so that it's ready to go at any time during the day, people can get to it at their leisure. We're very seeker sensitive here.
No, not just that, but then even some of us, because like you said, you could share that screen and you could do that. Like some of us actually gather together virtually or connect virtually and watch it together on the screen from different spots. And then, discuss it after. Right.
So that's why we're not. And, Pastor Brian pointed out, like, also you've got people that if they're coming in late, that they're going to miss it, and then they're going to have to wait for it to be processed, uploaded, and everything else. This way, it's ready anytime you want it on Sunday. The other thing we're not doing is we're not doing Lord's Supper at all.
Yeah.
We're not encouraging people to do the Lord's Supper because we actually believe with really the Reformed tradition, really I think the historic Protestant tradition, that it is intended to be done in the context of a local assembly of the church when we are gathered together and we have elders present. Now, we got an email from a listener, and his name is Joshua. He says, Yo, Jofo.
Yo.
You guys are seriously really fun to listen to, and I love hearing you guys process and banter. Would you guys consider doing a follow-up podcast to the Communion Questions episode where you talk about the biblical basis for your thinking and practice around communion? I didn't really hear you guys talk very much about specific scripture passages that inform why you think the way you think and do what you do with communion. It sounded more like personal preference or maybe just church tradition. As I am processing what you guys said, I begin to disagree with you guys in my head. However, I want to make sure that my disagreement doesn't come from ignorance or what the Bible says. But there were several comments about who is able to administer communion and where communion should be observed that I don't remember being in scriptures. I think what he means.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Anyways, I'd love to hear a follow-up podcast on this if you guys need topics to cover. And let me just say this, Josh. By the way, this is how you're supposed to be. Josh might totally disagree with our view. He might hate our view, but still listen.
Yeah.
I listen to atheists. I listen to all kinds of people from different perspectives. I disagree with them, but I still listen to them because I find it beneficial.
Yeah.
It's like people will, it's a small number, but sometimes people will freak out that we take a view on something, stand on something. They're like, oh my goodness,
what is going
totally
on?
Disagree with them. That's, hey, bro, that's fine. We're allowed to disagree. We're going to disagree on stuff. That's going to happen no matter what. And because one of us is wrong or both of us are wrong. So it's okay. We can disagree and still be friends, still be chill. Okay, so we'll link to an article or two that argues for this. But the reason we don't do Lord's Supper outside of the church gathered is because in Scripture, we see it happening when the church gathers together, not in smaller bands, not individually, not privately. So even, for example, in 1 Corinthians 11, Paul talks about the fact that they celebrate the Lord's Supper when they all come together, right? One assembly. And that's really the context in which it's done. Word and sacrament. You need the officers present to do this. And the reason so let me say a couple of things. One, we see the scriptural example. The Lord's Supper happens in the context of the church gathering together. Now, the church gathered in different places. Sometimes it gathered in homes. Sometimes it gathered in other places. But when the church would gather together, that's where it would happen. And the reason that we draw this conclusion about it is sometimes because of explicit examples, like in 1 Corinthians 11, and sometimes it's because of the implications of other doctrines and other statements.
So what do you mean by that, Joe?
A lot of the doctrines that we hold to are not explicitly stated, but they are implicitly given to us in Scripture. So if we were supposed to, quote, fence the table, if we are supposed to discern the body, if we are supposed to recognize who is and isn't fit for the Lord's Supper, that requires elders present to actually
the officers of the church to be administering the ordinance of the church.
Right. And so now administering the elements can look differently, even if you embrace this idea, right? So at our church, it's me typically that does it, but we preach, we talk about the sacrament and what it means and why it's important. And then we fence the table by means of exhorting people. If you're not a believer, this is not for you.
Yeah.
If you are a believer, but you're not dealing with your sin, this is an opportunity for you to begin dealing with your sin. Come repenting. Yeah. Don't use this as an excuse don't use your sin as an excuse not to do it. Start now, repent now. But if you're not willing to repent, then you're not ready for this. And we encourage people to then come forward where we have the elements, and they come forward and they take it back to their seats. So whether you're passing out trays or having people come forward, or whether you're doing intinction or not, all of that needs to be overseen by elders. And that's because you can't practice discipline without elders. You got to have it there. So it's implied on a number of other. It's implied from another of other doctrines, and a bunch of other passages. That's why we ultimately do what we do. Now, somebody wrote in a really good tweet after the conference saying, okay, if you can only do it when the whole church is assembled and you can't do it in small groups, how do you justify doing it in multiple services? You don't have the whole church assembled together. And I was like, bro, that's a good question. It's a tough question for us. And we don't have a great answer for that. And this is where what Jimmy was saying earlier comes into play, the idea of ideology and reality. So ideology, for us, ideologically, the church should be gathered together as one. A local church should be in one service together.
Yep.
We are not fans of multiple services, and we certainly are not fans of it as a means of growing the church.
Yeah, we're not. We don't agree with Keller on that one.
Right. So our view is that multiple services happen when you simply cannot any longer contain the body together. So we will add a service when we can't fit everybody in anymore. That's the only reason we have 3 services, is because not everybody can fit into our little building. So when the need arises, we start another service. And it's not ideal. It's not what we want, but we find ourselves in a situation where we're not going to turn people away from the door. So we say we'll come back at another time. The difference is, I guess, we're not limiting who's allowed to come. Like in a small group, it's not everybody is invited to the small group, but everybody is invited to the 8 a.m. Everybody's invited to the 9:45, and everybody's invited to the 11. And who comes. And those things tend to fill up. So we're still operating along the principle, come, gather together, and then we will do this. But no, there is some level of inconsistency there. Practically
that's a fantastic question.
Yeah, and I don't have a good answer for it. And so somebody could say, well, then why can't we do it in small groups? And I would say, well, because at that point you're pushing for it instead of being forced into it out of necessity.
Well, and like you said, I think there's a difference between one's prohibitive, right? Like your small group is a invited gathering, right? Rather than that open invitation to the body.
Exactly. Now, listen, for people that are observing the Lord's Supper in their small groups,
I don't think they're wrong.
I think they're wrong. But again, I don't think it's so wrong that it invites judgment or discipline.
Yeah, that's the question. It's not sin.
And maybe you could even just say, you know what, it's just not the Lord's Supper. You know, if a family wants to observe the Lord's Supper in their home,
Lord's lunch,
are they Lord's snack, Lord's Lunchable? Is it okay? So is it a sin to eat bread and to drink wine as a family? Of course not.
No,
you can drink bread.
Can you drink bread?
Well, beer is technically like drinking bread, so I guess you could.
You know what? That was a good pivot. Yeah, that was a really good pivot. I know how to pivot on alcohol. I am really proud of you for that.
I will pivot all day long. I'm like a gymnast, pivoting all over the place. So, anywho. It's not wrong to eat bread and to drink wine. And for a family to do that, is it sin? I'm not going to say it's sin, but I'm also going to say it's really not the Lord's Supper, because properly the Lord's Supper would happen in the context of the local church. But again, we're not all up in arms about it. We just don't do it. We don't encourage it at our church, and our small groups are not allowed to do it because those are under the authority of Redeemer. But if families were to do it, we're not going to call them out. We're not going to hate on them for it. And I have done the Lord's Supper with just a couple of friends back in the day because we really wanted to do it. Did it in this dude's basement. Yeah. So I get it. And
hippie.
Yeah. You know, I'm all about those feels. So yeah, all that's why we don't do that. Those are our reasonings. And I recognize we could be wrong on this.
Yeah,
I don't think we are, but you know, that's kind of where we're at. So we're trying to facilitate as much as we can, healthy spirituality and to get as corporate as we can. But what are some things you wanted to talk about what we can be doing at home more, right? I mean, we mentioned like reading a book of the Bible and doing family devotions, but what else did you have in mind?
One of the things I had in mind was I think it's easy to lose discipline in this time, and I think it's easy to get really lax, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the problem is, at least I find for myself, when I get too lax, I begin to kind of lose purpose, right, on what's going on and what's happening. So one of the things we've really pushed has been in our house is we maintain our routines. Everyone's still up at the same time, still goes, showers, brush their teeth.
Oh, you still make them shower and brush their teeth? That's good.
Yeah. Because some people aren't, right? Some people are just like, I'm just going to roll out of bed and just be in my pajamas all day.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I want them to brush their teeth, have their shower, change into their clothes, have their breakfast. School starts at 8:30. Yeah. You know, and that's just part of it is like, and for me, my work starts at a certain time, so I make sure I'm still like that routine that you're used to, because otherwise, at least. Again, this is just the way my brain works.
Right.
I begin to I lose my sense of purpose, and I start to blur the lines between like my home, like I should right now be shut off and hanging out with my family rather than checking my emails, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to blur the lines if you don't have that kind of, for a lot of people, the drive home is that transition for them.
Yeah.
Now you don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you transition from the table to the couch?
Right.
Right. And kind of shut off. And
desk,
whatever it is, right? Like to shut off and be present with the family. So yeah, I for me, we're really trying to make sure we're maintaining order.
I think that's really good. In fact, you said something in there that you said and you moved on real quick, but you linked discipline and purpose.
Yeah.
And you said when you lose discipline, you tend to lose purpose. And I think that's really wise, because discipline is the means of carrying out your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you might not give up on your purpose at first, right? Because my chief end is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever, to make disciples, whatever it is. But if you let discipline go because, hey, what am I going to do? Like, there's no structure. I'm just going to do whatever. Discipline wanes, and then you're not fulfilling your purpose because you're not intentional. It's a really good word, Jimmy.
And I do think then that's where people, for some, can then move into depression, right? Because they have that sense of loss, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And so for me, it's just more, I don't know, maybe because I'm an emotional person, right? Mm-hmm. And I get in my head really, really easy.
Podcast wife, yes.
But I'm bringing that podcast wisdom. You're welcome, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So
double W.
Wait, what?
Double W. Wife and wisdom. Go.
Anyways, find that routine. Stick with the routine.
I think that's really good. It's interesting. I was talking to a guy named Raleigh Sadler, which is the fakest name ever.
Mm-hmm.
Raleigh Sadler. That's like a name that would be in that.
What? It's actually Steve McCoy.
No. Is it really? Is he playing me?
Yep.
So Raleigh is the guy. He's the executive director of Let My People Go. It's a really cool ministry. But Raleigh Sadler, by the way, Raleigh Sadler sounds like a character in a Will Ferrell movie. What's that one with the Ricky Bobby? What's that movie?
Talladega Nights.
Sounds like a character in Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was asking, like, hey, has it really changed your family dynamic? And I said, well, in my family dynamic, not as much as others, because Jen doesn't normally go to work. She stays at home. She takes care of the home. And the work that she does, she tends to do from home anyways.
Yeah.
Writing and things like that. And all of our kids were at least at some point homeschooled. So now we're all together. It's not super weird for us. We've been in this situation before. For other people, it's very, very different.
Oh, man. It was day one. I'm sitting there like, are these kids going to pick up their mess? Like,
yes, they are.
Oh, yes, they are.
They're going to get the shoe upside the head.
It was like, all right, guys, I had to sit my kids down and be like, we're all here.
Yeah.
Daddy don't live like this. Like, I just want you to know, Daddy don't work like this. Daddy doesn't allow this at his office. He ain't allowing it right here if I'm here with you guys. What you guys do throughout the day, and when Daddy comes home and everything's in great order, I love it. Now it's got to be in order all the time. Like, it's just gonna happen.
You're like patriarchal.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Chauvinistic. Super traditional.
I am supporting my wife.
No wonder you voted for Trump.
I am supporting.
You want to make America great again.
I'm trying to make my house great again.
And no, for new listeners, he didn't vote for Trump. Okay, not that there would be anything wrong with it if he did. Everybody's got their position, but I like to say that Jimmy voted for Trump, even though I know he did not. You were waiting to use it.
Yes, I was. I did it. I found the moment.
So, but yeah, it's different for everybody, and in our family, the kids' schoolwork, they get it during this time is super easy. My son Killian gets up he gets up before all the other kids, gets it done on his own. He's 9, and then he hops on. He starts playing some games.
It's a good boy.
The other kids, we let them wake up. It doesn't really matter. We're not as disciplined as Jimmy's family, but they get up, they have their breakfast, and they get it done. But there's no real disruption because it's not that abnormal for us. But I do actually agree with you. I think overall, in general, maintaining a schedule, discipline, and ritual is very, very important. And I know that if I am out of my schedule, I tend to suffer spiritually.
Yeah.
I just do.
Yeah.
I need the regular get up, get going, sort of a thing.
Yeah. Plus, out of love for my children, just, they're younger than yours. So for them, I want them to understand school time.
Yes.
Playtime. Right. And I don't want them to have that blurring of the two and being confused.
Totally. No, I think that's really, really good. You're a good dad. even though you're obviously really hard on your wife and kids, and then make them clean up everything like you're some kind of, oh my gosh.
But I also make dinner. So I keep it up. I do make dinner. So that's my, when I come home.
You said your wife made dinner though. Earlier.
She does all right.
Yeah.
She does all right.
I think your family knows that you're the chef.
Yes.
Yeah. She's not a bad cook.
No.
I've had her food. That. She's very good.
She's very good. Yes. Yeah. But I'm a little bit. You know what? Maybe I'm more creative.
Maybe your wife's not very creative. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Not in that sense.
She's just not creative.
She can draw. She can paint.
She can't really do anything.
Oh yeah. She builds. She does like everything that I'm supposed to do. I just can't. And she's just very creative in that sense. But when it comes to cooking, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, some people are just like really into food and foodie. Like we have got a bunch of like Pastor Brian loves food and knows all about the restaurants and everything. Yeah. Jen made today. Jen cooks all the time. She cooks from scratch. She loves all that stuff. And so she made 2 breakfasty things today, some kind of baked oatmeal deal and then some other Dutch breakfast thing. And they were both fantastic. I couldn't believe how good they were. So fantastic. So yeah, I'm all for people cooking at home. But even if you do have to go out and grab stuff, that's fine too. Just get the family together. That's the most important thing. Get the family together and make the most of that time.
Yeah. So we've been trying to keep that like tradition. Usually on Sundays we do brunch, right? And so typically we'll go to like brunch cafe or buttermilk.
Yeah.
And still because we still want to support those businesses, you know, so we just like
can't do it now though.
No, you can call in your order.
Oh, you can call it
and
in.
then go pick it up or stuff. So
yeah, we called in some sushi did that for me and my boy Eli.
I don't want to disrupt, so if I can keep that routine.
It's good. Well, listen, I think that most of us are kind of walking through this, trying to figure it out, and things have been interrupted. Now, for Doctrine and Devotion, things got, we had the conference, and things are a little different. But starting next week, we'll be back on track, doing all the stuff we normally do. Uh-oh.
What?
Yeah. You got me. Oh, my gosh. Usually, you're the one that sneezes. Oh yeah, you love your new play toy.
I do. That was pretty good. You got to admit that was good.
Call the cops. Joey's sneezing.
Joey's sneezing.
Well, we will be back on track, right? So Monday, back on the 1689, we're going to be looking at chapter 26 verses paragraphs 7 and 8, I think it is, or 8 and 9, whatever it is. Tune in. We'll be back on schedule. Everything's going to run as normal, and maybe we'll be able to get some live stuff to you sooner than later. Now that we've figured that out.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter at Doc and Devo or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast or hit up the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday. Blog post on Wednesday. Later.